Hey everybody, so today we're going to be discussing chapter 26, meeting strategies and maintaining control. You have learned that preparation and planning are keys to successful advocacy. In the last chapter, you learned how to use pre-meeting worksheets to clarify issues and identify problems, and the parent agenda to present problems, offer solutions, and make requests. In this chapter, you will learn strategies to control the outcome of meetings, include problem solution worksheet, and post-meeting thank you. School meeting and anxiety. Your personal experiences will affect your feelings about school meetings. When you walk into your child's classroom or child's school, you're transported back to your earlier years in school. For many parents, memories of school are painful and unpleasant. If you had school problems, school meetings may bring up old feelings of guilt, shame, and school anxiety. Your reaction to school meetings is also influenced by your interpersonal style. If you're a conflict avoider, your motto is quote unquote, peace at any price. You may keep your concerns about your child's education to yourself until you cannot avoid conflict any longer. If you're an eager to please or desire to be liked, this may cause you to agree to proposals you mostly wouldn't agree to. So let's talk about some meeting strategies to help you get the best out of these IEP meetings. If possible, both parents should attend school meetings. When your parents go to meetings together, they present a strong, unified front. If one parent has more business experience, that parent may be more comfortable in the role of negotiator. Fathers should take an active role in educational decisions and planning. Mothers are often seen as they don't quote unquote operate from positions of strength. School personnel tend to view mothers as quote unquote emotional and less objective about their children, quote unquote. You want to discuss what you want to accomplish ahead of time, decide what your child needs, do not air your personal problems to school officials within the meeting. The biggest thing is do not go into these meetings alone. If you have a parent who cannot attend, ask a friend or family member to go with you. You may also ask a minister, priest, rabbi, religious leader, or even a friend to attend this IEP meeting. If you go into these meetings alone, you're more likely to feel intimidated and to make decisions that you will regret later. When you have a friend or family member with you, you will feel less vulnerable, you'll be more confident, and they can help you and support you throughout the meeting. You can tape record these meetings. If you have problems or anticipate a dispute about your child's IEP, it is a good idea to tape record IEP meetings. Some parents routinely record all meetings, even when parent-school relationships are very good. There are several advantages to recording meetings. If you're like most parents, IEP meetings are confusing, overwhelming, scary, anxiety-producing. You want to take an active role in your child's IEP process, but you cannot ask questions to discuss issues, make decisions, and take notes at the same time. When you tape record meetings, you can ask questions, express concerns, and offer solutions and make decisions without having to take notes. So you can take notes afterwards. Perhaps you asked an important question after the meeting you cannot remember how or if your question was answered. You can record the meeting, you can listen to it, and find the answer to your question. After the tapes are transcribed, you can have a transcript of what you proposed, consider and rejected during the meeting. If you request a hearing to resolve a dispute, transcripts of meetings may be evidence that supports your position. Assume that you successfully recorded a meeting. The meeting is ending. Do not turn off the recorder until after you leave the building. School personnel often make important statements when your hand is on the doorknob. So make sure that you leave your recorder on. Within a day or two, listen to the tapes. When you listen to the tapes, you may realize important questions were not answered. You may discover that issues you thought were resolved are still on the table and have not been resolved. At school meetings where several people are talking at once, this is often confusing about who agreed to deal with an issue. You may believe that one of the school officials agreed to a certain issue when maybe they didn't. When meetings are recorded, these problems are easier to resolve. So now, what does the law say about recording meetings, IEP meetings? The IDEA statute does not mention tape recorded meetings. The federal statutes do not authorize or prohibit parents or school officials from recording IEP meetings. Many states have language in their special education regulations about their policy on audio and videotaping. Read your state's regulation about recording before you actually go into the school and record. If your school's district adopts a rule about taping, the school must apply this rule informally. Schools cannot record meetings while prohibiting parents from recording. If the school records a meeting, the tapes become part of your child's educational record. You are entitled to copies of your child's educational records, and that includes, obviously, these videos. Including tapes of meetings. If the school claims they have a policy that prohibits parents from taping, write a polite letter to request a copy of this policy. Ask if taping policy was adopted by the school administration, school board, or any other entity. If the school district has a policy that prohibits taping, the district must expect expectations of this policy infers with your ability to participate in the IEP process. Here are some key points to consider. If the policy prevents you from participating in an IEP meeting, if your spouse is unable to attend the IEP meeting, or other factors that interfere with your parental rights. So now let's go into detail about more of these strategies to help you get the best out of the IEP meetings and help you resolve any taping issues. Put the recorder on a book in the middle of the table, turn it on, and identify the meeting. If a school employee says you cannot record, pick up the microphone and ask the person to state his or her name and that the school district is forbidding you to record the meeting. In most cases, the person will back down. If the person does not back down, you have this on tape, just in case you need to use it to prove your position later, if the school administration asks you. Here are some meeting dynamics. When you enter the meeting room, make a pleasant comment to break the ice. Shake hands, make eye contact, smile with each team member. Pay attention to nonverbal behavior. Watch your body language, who sits at the head of the table, who takes notes, who is the most powerful person within the room. If you sit next to the most powerful person, make it more difficult for this person to minimize you and your concerns. Common meeting problems. School personnel often tell parents that the law, quote unquote, does not allow the school to provide a service. Do not accept legal advice from your child's special education team. Read the law and regulations for yourself. You need to consult a qualified special education attorney so you have a clear sense of what the law says. Ask questions that you want to ask. Frame your sentences so they begin with the words what, why, when, who, where, how, and then explain your question. You will not change minds by arguing with people, and this is one of the first things to understand. When you ask questions, you often raise questions. When you ask questions, you will learn how the school views your child's problem and what the school plans to do to help your child. This information will help you anticipate problems and develop solutions that may resolve the problem and allow both sides to win. You will discover answers to questions like these. How does the school view my child's problems? What does the school think of my child's needs? What does the school think they should do about my child's problem? Does the school have a plan to educate my child? So these are just some of the questions that might be brought up. So what does really the law say about special education? If the school says the law does not allow us to do that, take your copy of the Rights Law, Special Education Law, second edition, and ask them to help you find this in the law. Ask for help. You must be sincere. When I read the law, I did not find this, right? If you cannot find the issue, the usual fallback position is it's in the regulations. If the team cannot find the answer, you can say, I haven't found this in the state regulations either. Make sure you've done your legal research and are on firm ground. So make sure if they question you, make sure you've done your research ahead of time and you know what the law says. If you cannot find the answer to the question in the regulations, the school may claim that the issue is in their school district policies and guidelines. Ask for these documents, be polite. In most cases, the school's policies and guidelines will not deal with the issue. Now let's switch over and let's talk about dealing with an IEP draft. Many parents complain that when they go to an IEP meeting, they are handed a completed IEP to sign. If this happens to you, do not panic and do not get mad. You have a right to participate in the development of your child's IEP. The fact that the school presents you with a draft IEP does not mean that you must accept the IEP. View the IEP draft as a quote unquote draft and as information about the school, what the school wants to provide. The draft IEP gives you information about resources the school is willing to commit. The draft is there first offered in the negotiation process. You can say, thank you for drafting your ideas as a starting point for our discussion. Then pass out copies of your parent agenda or problem resolution worksheet, which we have discussed. So when the meeting ends without a resolution, do not be surprised if the meeting ends before you finish the IEP. Do not be surprised if the school asks you to sign the incomplete IEP. Don't sign it. Write that you attended the IEP, that you attended the meeting, but have not agreed to the services of the program. You have a right to a copy of the IEP and evaluations of your child. When you sign an IEP to get a copy of your records, if you're advised that the IEP will be cleaned up and typed, get a dirty quote unquote copy before you leave. Your copy establishes that the team agreed to. So strategies to help you deal with disputes within the meetings. If you have a dispute or a disagreement, expect the school to put their defenses in place. They're preparing for battle. Will you request a due process hearing? The fear of the unknown will make everyone anxious. Try to discover the basis of their refusal. How can you get school personnel to tell you their perceptions, interests, fears, and when they feel defensive and anxious? Ask the 5 W's plus H plus E question, like we've talked about earlier. Listen to the answers, do not argue. You may be surprised at useful information you discover. So now let's go on to post-meeting worksheets and the thank you letter. So the most important post-meeting strategies are your written recollections and your thank you letter. Your recollections are really after the meeting, write or dedicate your recollections about what happened. So you can write this on a piece of paper, type it up on Microsoft Word, whatever you feel comfortable with. Do this immediately, do not wait, because you don't want to forget any memories or any specific points within the meeting. What issues were resolved? What issues are still on the table? We recommend that you use a small tape recorder to dictate your recollections. When you write or dictate your recollections, you may realize that the meeting was more successful than you thought. Perhaps you resolved some of your problems. Perhaps the school agreed to provide some of the services you requested. What do you think? Did you make some progress? Now let's move to the thank you letter. After the meeting, write a thank you letter. In your letter, briefly describe the meeting, your understanding of what the school agreed to, any issues that are unresolved. The letter should be very polite, very pleasant, very warm. Frame the problems as ours. Offer to meet again to resolve the remaining issues. You can make a copy of your IEP meeting worksheet or parent agenda and attach this document to your thank you letter. Send your thank you letter and supporting documents to the IEP team leader. Keep a copy of your signed letter and documents for your records. When you use these strategies, you resolve many problems with the school. You created contemporaneous documentation during the meeting. After the meeting, you documented what you requested, what you were told, what was agreed to, and what was resolved. So now let's just go over some basic summary of basically what we learned in this chapter. In this chapter, we learned about strategies for school meetings. We learned about common meeting problems. We learned about how to deal with these meeting problems. We learned about problem resolution worksheets and the post-meeting thank you. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to contact your professor. And so thank you.